2022, I did something really scary. I moved to Hawaii with my husband for a year and a half. I left my family, I left my friends behind. It was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life, but also the best thing that I've ever done in my life. I'm currently in Florida, which is where I moved to after Hawaii, which is definitely a lot closer than living in Hawaii, but after living in both states, I definitely have a lot of experience about leaving home and all of the guilt that comes with it, all of the shame, all of the fear that comes with it. And that's kind of what I want to chat about, because I definitely could have used a lot of encouragement when I was trying to move. I was obviously very excited about moving, but I had so much guilt. When I sat down with my family to tell them that I wanted to do this, I just felt so scared. I think I was literally shaking. I was so afraid to tell everybody that I was going. I felt really bad leaving. I felt really guilty. I felt like I was going to miss out on stuff. But aside from all of that fear, the fear of regret for me was just too big. It was so much greater for me than guilt, because I'm in my 20s and I knew that was something I really wanted to do. I always wanted to live in a warm state, live somewhere else, escape my hometown. I don't personally like my hometown besides my family and friends that are there. It's just not the type of life that I saw for myself in the future. I always wanted to live by the beach. I'm such a summer soul. I love summer, I love the warm weather, and it just wasn't working for me living in a cold state. Just knew that it wasn't going to be for me long term, and I absolutely knew I had to leave. Even though I love everybody, I love my family and friends so much, I knew I had to go. And my first thing I want to touch on is, just because you leave doesn't mean you don't love them. This was something that I struggled with a lot, because I felt so much guilt about leaving. I was nervous that my family would think I don't care about them if I leave, such a jerk for leaving, I don't care, I'm selfish. All of these thoughts really went in my head. Eventually, I started to realize, no, that's literally not true at all, because I call my family all the time. I talk to them, I keep in touch, we FaceTime, I also visit. So it's not selfish to live the life that you want to live. It's never selfish to want to achieve your own personal happiness. I also really started to realize that if the people in your life aren't going to support you and be happy for you and want you to follow your dreams and follow your heart, then they probably aren't the best type of people to have in your life. And of course you're gonna have family and friends that are gonna say oh no, don't leave, please stay, we miss you. And that's literally all out of love, people are obviously just gonna miss you and want to be with you, obviously, because they enjoy your company. That's way different than people not actually being happy for you and wanting the best for you. So it's completely normal, obviously, for your family to miss you, your friends to miss you, you to miss them, just have that void, I guess, of not being together all the time. But it is not selfish for you to live somewhere else, because I truly believe that we're meant to see the world, we're meant to have new experiences, you're meant to find yourself, you deserve to be happy and to find yourself in this life. So I just think that that's something you should never feel ashamed of, you should never feel selfish about. Again, I know it's super hard, because especially if you're moving for the first time, I had all of that guilt, but after time has passed, I can now say that I don't have that guilt anymore. Of course, you get used to it, your family gets used to it, your friends get used to it, everyone adjusts. You also start to realize that it's actually not that bad. In the beginning, it's definitely a huge shift when you go from seeing people every single day and your friends on the weekend and your parents and siblings and everything like that all the time, to only seeing them maybe a few times a year. Is that a duck? I never usually see that on the beach, so that was really funny. It's definitely gonna feel weird at first, not seeing everybody every day, all the time. You hear him? He's quacking away. It's definitely gonna be an adjustment for you when you go from seeing everybody all the time to only seeing people a few times a year, once a year, really depending on how often you can visit, depending on how far you are and stuff. It definitely is an adjustment, but almost is really cool though at the same time to go home and see everybody, because then that time that you're spending with them is so much more valued, and it's like you're excited, like you're really, really excited to see everybody, you know, like that's how I feel when I go home now. Like I get so excited to see my family and my friends, and like we all plan something, and it's nice, you know, it's just like nice to have that excitement. And I feel like the time spent together is definitely more like cherished that way. So that's another way that I like to look at it. And obviously I already said like FaceTime helps so much. Between the FaceTimes and the visiting, it really almost feels like I never even left. You know how you have those friends and those family members that like you spend time with them and it's like, man, it's like I just saw you last week. Truthfully, how it feels for me now. It didn't feel like that for me at first. I really did struggle with moving and like being away for a while, but I could safely say like at this point, after it being a few years, I feel like a lot more comfortable with it. I don't really have any guilt anymore. I don't have that void anymore, because I just know that truthfully, I am just a flight away. Like I can go home, people can visit me, we can FaceTime. If you feel that type of guilt, and if you're like afraid because of the guilt, don't let it get to you. You're gonna feel it at first, but eventually with time, it's going to get better. Moving away from my hometown for me just created a completely different life. It opened a door that I never even thought possible. I have a completely different lifestyle right now. The activities I'm able to do, the time of year I'm able to do those activities. I'm so much happier because I feel like I'm actually living my true self. Like this was my dream my whole life, to move and live by a beach. And I know not everybody wants to live by a beach, so this definitely isn't like a Florida promotion video. It's anywhere. Maybe you want to experience snow, which is something I like don't really like after living with it my whole life, but that's actually something I hear a lot. People that grow up in a warm climate, they're like, I actually like want to live somewhere where we get like the 4 seasons and it snows, or like mountains. And so yeah, this is really like aimed at moving anywhere, like leaving in general. The overall scenario is the same regardless of where you move. You're still gonna feel the same guilt, you're still gonna have the same hardships of dealing with moving and everything that I'm talking about. So regardless of where you move to, you're gonna face these challenges, which is completely normal. I hope my back isn't getting sunburnt right now. It's literally like not even 8 a.m. I don't think. That just goes to show how strong the sun is in Florida. And not everybody wants to leave their hometown. I get that. Like some people really do love where they live, and honestly, I envy that. Like if you grew up somewhere where you just love your hometown, you love the area, and you like see a future there, I think that's so cool, and honestly a lot easier, because then you get to reap the benefits of loving where you live and then also having all your loved ones with you, which is something I truthfully wish I did have. But unfortunately for me, I just really didn't like my hometown. And I just strongly believe that if you don't like where you live, you should try to change your life then, if you truly are unhappy. It's one thing if you like are kind of cool with where you live, you know, like not that big of a deal, maybe like indifferent about it, but I'm talking about the people that literally cannot stand where they live. Like they are miserable in their state and they want to leave. Life is just so short. You don't have guaranteed time. I just think about that all the time. I really do. I really just think about how we have one life and tomorrow's not guaranteed, and I would just really hope that I gave it my best shot and like really just tried to live a happier life for myself and for my husband too. Regret is my biggest fear. So I've had a lot of fears with moving, with the guilt, with the shame, with just like fear of being judged, everything. Also fear of bad things happening when I'm not there, which I'm going to talk about next. Even though all those fears are valid and they do exist and they're very real, the biggest fear that we should all have is not living a fulfilled life and not going after the things that we truly want in life, because regret just hurts so bad. I think that it stings the most out of everything, because knowing you wanted to do something so bad and you just didn't do it, not because of external circumstances or anything, but just because of fear. You're afraid to start over. It's a new beginning. It's scary. It's a lot of work. The fear of not going after it for me is the absolute scariest thing, because I just always think about like when I'm 80, if I make it to 80, hopefully, looking back on my life and being like, damn, I should have just left, or I should have just went after that dream, or I should have just did that thing that I really wanted to do. I should have just not cared and just like went for it. Like I wonder what my life would be like right now. Like that's terrifying to me. Actually, like nightmares at night. I am so afraid of that. So For me, that was just a little bit higher than all the other fears that I've had of moving. That's why I actually did it, and that's how I had the courage to do it. I think the last thing I want to touch on is something I already kind of hinted at, the fear of something bad happening when you do leave. This was probably my biggest fear, I'm not gonna lie, out of moving. It's a very valid fear. I will never diminish this, because most of you watching, probably have an elderly person in your life. Maybe you have someone that needs care, or even if everybody is healthy, everyone's young, whatever your personal case may be, things happen, right? This really did eat me alive before I left, because I kept thinking, what if something happens and I'm not there? Either help or comfort other people, or just maybe see that person for the last time. All these thoughts that go through your head, right? But eventually, again, after being away for so long, I kind of just started to realize that even if you are there, even if you do live really close and something happens, there's an emergency, there's a tragedy, most likely just because you were in your hometown, with everybody, or around, those people, most likely you wouldn't have been able to do anything anyway if a tragedy did happen. You being there wouldn't have prevented something from happening, because unfortunately bad things just happen, right? They just do. Even if you are close by, things just happen, and it would be so unfair for you to harbor that guilt if something like that were to happen, because it's completely out of your control anyway. And let's not forget too that if something like that did happen, if there was an emergency, you're always a flight away. I know this completely depends on where exactly you are. For the most part, you are really just a flight away. And if there is an emergency, you literally most of the time find a same day flight or a next day flight to get home if you really had to. I did hear a quote from somebody, and I can't remember the exact quote. I will try to find it and post it on the screen here. It was a percentage of your fears, what actually comes true. I think it was less than 10% of what you think is going to happen that's bad actually ends up happening. And for my situation, that was completely true. When I was in Hawaii, I had so much fear about something bad happening and me not being there to help back home, but in reality, nothing ended up happening. Very, very, very thankful for that. So I just realized that I finished the video and it wasn't recording for the rest of the video. So I'm gonna try to remember what I said after this. And I believe the last thing that I said in the unrecorded part of this video was how you will miss out on events. You can't fly home for every single thing. You're not going to be there most likely for every single holiday, for every single birthday, every single major thing that happens. It's just not realistic. I'm not going to sugarcoat that you are going to miss out on some events. It really just comes down to how big of a deal that is for you. So personally for me, I try to attend all the major stuff like weddings. That's huge. So if I have a friend or a family member that's getting married, that's something I'm obviously going to try to go home for, especially now that I'm in Florida. Hawaii is kind of different just because it is 12 hours away, so it's harder to do stuff like that. But now that I'm in Florida, it's a much shorter flight. I'm not gonna lie, even still being in Florida, I'm still not gonna be able to go home for every single holiday. I'm not gonna be able to attend Christmas and Thanksgiving because they're so close to each other. Can't go home for every single person's birthday. So you are going to miss out on some things. It just depends if you're okay with that. And sometimes you don't know if you're gonna be okay with it until you go out and see and experience it for yourself. If you do move and you feel like it wasn't the right decision, you're never stuck and you could always move back. This construction is really loud. I hope it's not too loud in the video, but you have realized that being away is just not for you. If you just, really value being with your family more than living in let's say your dream state, it really just comes down to how that makes you feel. But I really do believe that you're not going to know until you experience it. I feel like half the time a lot of us think we're not going to be able to do it, I could never do that, I can never be away, I can never miss out. But then once you actually go away, you kind of realize oh, this actually isn't that bad, because I'm flying home a few times a year. The time that I'm spending with my family then is just very meaningful and very cherished. So it almost kind of feels like I didn't even leave type of thing. Don't be afraid to follow your dreams. Don't be afraid to move. Don't be afraid to start over, to have a new beginning, because it just might end up being the best thing that you ever do for yourself in your life. And if it's not, then you experience something new. You have a story to tell for the future about your experience and how you learned it's not for you. Best thing about both of those situations is that you know now. For me, I just hate the unknown. I hate the fear of regret and like wondering what if. I just like love having that clarity. So whether you decided it was a good or a bad decision to move, it's still giving you clarity and you now know like what is meant for you. Does that make sense? I really just hope that helped anyone out there who really just felt like they needed like that permission slip, because that's definitely how I felt when I was moving. I felt like I just needed someone to tell me like, go, it's okay, like you could leave, like we're not going to be mad at you, you know, like just go. I did eventually learn that you never need a permission slip in life to chase your dreams and to be happy. Your permission slip is what your gut is telling you. So if your gut is telling you to go, then you gotta go. Hi guys.